Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to a special episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder. And we decided that we were going to do a special Sunday recording because I think people kind of liked that last one we did about the Marvels opening box office. And also, since we're having a special guest on the podcast on Thursday, it made sense to clear a little bit of time by taking care of the box office analysis while it's kind of relevant.
Right. Yeah. And as far as our reviews go for that show, we're going to have a lot to say about one of them.
Yes, a certain pilgrimage.
Pilgrimage. Yes. Real quick, I do want to mention the shirt I'm wearing. Yes, I am wearing a Film Threat shirt, but I want to make it very clear. We are not associated with Film Threat in any way. We don't.
Unless they ask.
Unless they ask, yes. We don't work. We don't work for Film Threats. We're not sponsored by them, but as DB said, if they want to, collaborate on something, DMs
Right.
are open. Yeah.
Yep. Well, anyhow, let's get
Yes.
into the meat of this. So
Yeah.
part of what inspired this is okay. So this weekend we had a couple of major releases. We had Wish and we had Napoleon,
Hmm.
and I hadn't really thought about. Yeah, I made a prediction for the Marvels that was within a million of what it actually ended up doing, but I didn't actually bother predicting Wish. And the reason I didn't bother predicting Wish is that I didn't. It's hard to gauge when this sort of uh, you have this sort of Thanksgiving opening block because
Yeah.
and Disney did some interesting things here. They opened Wish. I believe you could start getting tickets on a Tuesday. They had some opening previews last week, I even think.
Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah.
So it was just it's kind of like with the Mario Brothers movie where it launched on a Wednesday before Easter weekend, or
Yeah.
or it's like, okay, congratulations, you've made the comparisons very difficult.
Yeah.
But I think if I had bothered to make a prediction, it would have basically gone something like, okay, well, clearly Wish is going to be first place, and then Napoleon and Hunger Games are going to be duking it out for second and third, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's because as much as Disney has kind of gone all in on trying to, as well as Film Threats, Chris Gore put it, turn Star Wars and Marvel into girl brands.
Hmm.
It's like, well, they still have the princess market, right? So then this is a new Disney princess movies. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it seemed logical to assume that this would do at least somewhat well. I mean, the reviews I got. Daniel, have you watched a lot of reviews of this?
I watched Film Threats review. Speaking of Film Threat, boy, we're really plugging them in this show. um,
Well, they deserve it.
yeah, yeah. Alan Ning, Ning the Merciless, hated the movie. He thought it went against everything that past Disney stood for, and it was just not worth your time.
Yeah, I've seen reviews. I saw that review. I've seen reviews where most some Disney fans, like some people who aren't in kind of the "we hate Disney" sphere, as I'll call it. I,
Yeah,
I decided to diversify my opinions. A lot of them seem to think it was just kind of mid, as the
yeah,
kids say. Um, one YouTuber I follow, actually, he and his family really enjoyed themselves. Uh, but I think it's kind of funny that this movie seems to it almost falls into the same thing that the Barbie movie did,
yeah.
where it had a point, but it made it so badly that it actually kind of probably said things that the authors weren't intending.
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So, but as far as outside of reviewing movies we didn't actually watch, I was somewhat tempted yesterday afternoon when I had a little bit of time to go do that. But it's like, yeah, do I want? I'm already going to have to watch Scott Pilgrim all the way through. Do I want?
Yeah.
Do I want to? Do I want to compound the the potential misery. But who knows? Maybe this movie is just charming. But
Yeah, yeah,
everything I've heard, no.
yeah.
Uh, well, anyhow,
Yes,
let's stop beating around the bush. Screen
yes.
share on.
Uh,
And we want this window.
yeah. All right.
So, like I said, in a sane and rational universe, we'd be talking about how Wish took the box office this weekend. It did not.
No.
The surprising thing to me is I had kind of predicted that the Hunger Games could outperform what people were expecting because I thought, well, it's like it's been long enough for people who liked the old movies to be nostalgic.
Mhm.
Some of them, people who had discovered the books, like people discovered the books in junior high, then the movies were made when they were in high school, and then they've had like 10 years since the first movie. That they could have some kids that they might take to see this, right?
Right. Yeah.
It didn't really pan out the first weekend. It kind of came in at the low end of the predictions.
Yeah.
But then I noticed something interesting happening, and Daniel can attest to this. That I
Yes.
kept sending him screenshots because I kept taking screenshots of what the numbers was showing day by day during the
Yeah.
week, and I was like, "Wait, is Hunger Games outdoing Napoleon and Wish?"
Yeah.
I was I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
So on top of really being the winner of the midweek for Thanksgiving, which that's a good bracket. It
Yeah.
had an amazing 35% hold week over week compared to last week.
Yeah, that's yeah, very surprising. I was expecting like second week to just it kind of be like the Marvels, where not as dramatic as the Marvels, but a big dip in its second weekend.
Yeah, no, it's already, what was its opening weekend? 40 million?
Yeah,
Let's
40, yeah, 45.
see here. Yeah, 44 and change.
Yeah.
It's already more than doubled its opening weekend, which is actually really impressive.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if we dig into it a little bit, uh, first off, it is, if we look at the numbers trend chart here, it is heavily over projecting that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's, well, not heavily. It is significantly outside of the predicted band.
Yes.
But also, we're looking at nearly 200 million internationally so far. And if
Hmm.
it goes by the normal patterns, like, okay, so like, over at, to keep bringing up other YouTube channels, over at Odin's movie blog, uh,
Hmm.
he talks about how in his just charting movies over the years, the majority of movies make somewhere between 50 and 70% of their opening in the first 2 weeks.
Right.
If that's what's going on here, like if this thing keeps legging out the way it is,
Mm.
uh, we could be looking at like around a $400 million uh, haul here.
Mm.
And what would be crazy there? That would mean that the Hunger Games prequel that nobody asked for did better than Indiana Jones.
Oh. Oh man. Oh.
that w- which is insane to me.
Yeah. Oh.
The- and also, this movie was relatively inexpensive, like 100 million for a
Yeah.
sci-fi movie. Eh,
Yeah, whoever came up with the budget for this better, Disney better give them a call.
Yeah, Uh, and what's interesting about it to me too is, I mean, reviews I've heard of this thing. Like, I think to bring up Film Thread again, to take a
Mhm.
shot because
Yeah,
this episode is not brought to you by Film Thread, but it might as well be.
yeah,
Uh, like Chris Gore gave it like a 6 out of 10.
yeah.
Andre over at Midnight's Edge, I was watching a stream with him, and he had pretty positive things to say about this movie.
Mm,
Like, like the reviews I've heard are it's all right,
yeah.
maybe better than anyone was expecting for an a sequel that no or a prequel that nobody asked for the Hunger Games.
Yes, and one of the stars of the movie having being not very likable at the moment.
Yeah, I swear part of this box office is everybody going, oh wait, she isn't the main character. Okay, I guess I'll go see it.
Yeah. I could take her in smaller doses.
Yeah, exactly. So it's weird. Like I again, like this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it came in first place. Now, mind you, $30 million opening or second weekend.
Mm.
That there was a time where I mean, like Hunger Games movies opened to this movie's combined 2 weeks box office at one point.
Right, yeah.
So it's not like a huge win, but
Mm.
you know, 7,600 per screen or per theater, I should say. So, uh, good for AMC stockholders, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Next on the list, we have Napoleon, which uh, 32 million starting from midweek last week, 20 million for the weekend itself.
mm,
Which so I this one I don't know what its budget is. I know it's sponsored by Apple,
mm.
which it actually shares that with another kind of adult movie that has been kind of underperforming, or that has underperformed, Killers of the Flower Moon, that we've talked about a few times.
Yes, a Martin Scorsese drama that somehow managed to spend $200 million.
Yeah, that's got to be most. The theory I heard about that was that it's because the actors know they aren't going to get a back end because it's going straight to Apple and it's not going to do a
Uh,
huge box office. They're kind of getting paid up front.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Uh, And Napoleon is kind of similar. It's also being handled by. It's also an Apple TV one, from my understanding,
yeah,
with Ridley Scott and Joaquin Phoenix.
yeah. And from what I heard too, this movie is probably going to have an extended cut when it drops on Apple TV.
Yeah, something crazy like 4 hours.
Yeah, it's already close to 3 hours.
Yeah, which it also shares with Flower Moon.
Yes, and Hunger Games.
Was Hunger Games that long? Wow.
Yeah, Hunger Games is like 2 hours, almost 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Now, reviews I've seen on Napoleon, some people have called it a glorified chick flick because it really seems to focus on his relationship with Josephine more than anything else.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, and apparently she was not very faithful wife.
No. Uh, um, Also, the like I had I watched one review where it's one of those things where if you don't know the history, it probably works well enough as a story, but if you know the history, you're like, that isn't what happened. What
Yeah.
what? Which apparently Ridley Scott said, is like, if you weren't actually there,
Yeah.
f off about telling me about how accurate I was.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he was getting that with Gladiator too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I am I going to go see Napoleon, or am I going to re up my Apple Plus membership for Napoleon? Probably not.
Yeah.
Doesn't I don't know. Like I do like history things, but for whatever reason, Napoleon himself has never interested in me as much.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know why. I guess he just maybe it's because he's French.
Yeah, he does. Like, I'm more interested in Wellington than Napoleon. I guess it is my little bit of Anglophilia speaking here.
Yeah.
Um, so then, sitting at third place with a $19 million opening weekend, and how did this happen? Is Wish.
Yeah. Uh,
This is a new Disney princess movie with a cute animal sidekick voiced by Alan Tiddick, however you pronounce his
oh
name,
yeah.
with Chris.
Pine.
Thank you. There's too many Chris's that have science fiction superhero careers for me to keep track of.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, it seems like it should be right in Disney's wheelhouse, and it's also the 100th anniversary uh, movie for Disney.
Yeah.
What's the budget? Take a shot, $200 million.
Yeah.
We used to joke that they were just lazy about it. And we just, okay, $200 million for that, $200 million for that. Oh, we need catering for lunch. Yeah, 200 million worth of catering.
Yeah.
Everything costs $200 million to Disney. Now we kind of know that that's kind of what they budget up front. But if this thing ends up being over budget, then that would
Yeah.
not be at all surprising.
No, no, yeah. Yeah, this should have been this movie should have been a slam dunk for Disney. I mean, because like you said, it's the 100th anniversary. Apparently, they threw in a whole bunch of references to past Disney movies,
Right.
and yeah, and it's just a total turkey.
Ha, Thanksgiving. I get it.
Yeah,
I understood that reference.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's also like this has been historically a weekend that Disney has owned because it's a perfect time to come up with a family movie because Thanksgiving you're tired of looking at each other from across the table,
yeah,
uh, and it's like, well, let's go somewhere where we can be as a family and make the kids shut up for a few minutes.
yes,
And also, like, I'm secure enough in my masculinity to say that a good Disney princess musical can just make you come out of it feeling good about life. Like,
yeah,
I distinctly remember that sensation when I went to go see Enchanted and Tangled back in the day. I just left the movie going, oh yeah, I feel good about the world.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I'm also in the camp that Tangled is a better movie than Frozen. Fight me. um, but yeah, what it really sounds like with Wish is that actually it kind of was them playing into. Okay, so let's take a step back. Actually, to bring up the Tangled comparison,
Yeah.
people have been complaining that the recent Disney princesses like Rapunzel, Anna. I haven't ever actually seen Moana, so I can't comment on Moana.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Um, but a lot of them have been kind of personality-less, or people have argued that they're just kind of vaguely adorkable
Yeah.
with without a lot of flaws.
Right.
Now, I would say that Rapunzel, because she has the whole angle of being isolated and trapped and everything, ends up
Mm,
having more personality than people give her credit for.
yeah.
But it sounds like the princess of this movie, Asha, ended up being like that.
Oh,
Uh, ju- just kind of
yeah.
vaguely adorable. Um, Also, let's see here. Can we get a better picture of Asha? Also, actually, let's see here. Show
Well,
wish.
well, the other thing too I've been hearing is that she isn't actually a princess, or she doesn't become a princess.
Yeah. You know what? Uh, if you care about spoilers on this movie that we haven't seen, step away.
Yeah.
While I pull this up, you have 5 seconds to vacate.
Yeah. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so she actually becomes the fairy godmother from Cinderella, from what I understand.
Huh.
And then, I don't know what did she give herself I can't think. I want to come up with a joking term for it. Did she decide to become a Caucasian grandmother at some point?
Yeah. Yeah. That does not work.
Apparently, the king becomes the evil mirror.
Oh, jeez.
Um, the goat talks about going to form a city for animal people. So it's tied into
Zootopia.
yep. Um, so okay, but anyway, that those like weird. Those are weird choices that people wouldn't know about going in. So why did they stay away? Well, looking at this art,
Mm.
I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and um, you know what this looks like to me?
Tumblr fan art.
Okay, now I can see where you're going there
Yeah.
because
What does it look like?
look at look at the kind of cell shadiness of the backgrounds here. This looks like a screenshot from an Xbox One PS4 Kingdom Hearts game with cell shading.
It does. Wow.
So apparently the idea, and it's a good idea in theory, was to kind of blend the 2D and 3D art styles together.
Yeah.
Um, so it's supposed to look like a drawing. Um, I'm sorry, that just did not. Whatever coolness the idea had, I've seen the trailer. I've seen a couple of clips.
Yeah.
It looks like a video game cutscene, unfortunately.
Oh. Uh, Eesh.
Like there's some shots that work. Also, you saw Ing the Merciless's review where like every shot, every character is in the dead center instead of being off to the sides, like you're supposed to do with rule of thirds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Tumblr fan art a minute ago. I think that's actually a relevant thing
Mm,
because one thing I've noticed getting character commissions is that most artists nowadays, unless you tell them otherwise,
mhm.
are designing their drawings to be viewed on this. So they are
Mm,
kind of tall and narrow, right?
right. Yeah.
Which has which I would imagine has the side effect where if you're used to using that to get attention for your art, um,
Uh,
you're used to putting things dead center because you don't have a lot of room left or right to work with, right?
right. Yeah.
So of course you put everything dead center because otherwise half of your character is off the screen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Whoever taught these people animation didn't do a very good job.
No, I actually remember there was like this puppet YouTube channel I watched for a while. I don't know if they're still doing stuff. I can't remember the name of it. But they made where they're making jokes about don't hold your phones vertically, because they're gonna have to redesign movie theaters to have a
Yeah.
vertical screen,
Yeah.
and that almost seems to have happened, at least
Mm,
in the minds of a lot of people.
yeah.
Um, Other things I hear is that and I can vouch for this having watched a couple of video clips. The songs aren't great. They kind of sound like somebody trying to sound like a Disney musical, which is a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like the movie, and also to bring up what we mentioned at the start of the show, where it might have had a different message than they intended
Yeah.
from things. Okay, so Ben Shapiro, who I just think whatever his other merits, don't necessarily listen to him when it comes to media.
Yeah.
He interprets this plot, which is about basically the king of this kingdom has the power to grant wishes, but he only grants wishes that he thinks are for the benefit of the country.
Mm,
And when people don't get their wishes granted, they lose their wishes, but it's like they don't miss it.
huh.
Yeah. And then Asha and her activist friends cause a revolution in the country,
Hmm.
which now the way Ben Shapiro read this was, oh, they are the king is God, and is a rebellion. God doesn't grant all prayers or make things happen just because you ask him to do so.
Yeah.
I do not believe that Ben Shapiro had actually seen the movie. The one reviewer I did who had said, I can maybe if you squint at it, that's the message.
Yeah.
uh, he saw it as actually which is absolutely not like considering that the people making it were talking about Asha coming into her power and being a protester and an activist. The
Mm.
message they absolutely did not mean, which actually happened, is it's a damning indictment of central planning and authoritarian communist regimes,
Yeah.
which is where that Barbie comparison, where messages that were not intended in the movie, came in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they go back to Ben Shapiro. I mean, he did like the Snyderverse movies, so
It, not even he didn't even have to watch the extended cut of Batman v Superman to enjoy it, which that extended cut does make it significantly better.
yes.
But
But yeah, that's it is funny how things turn out that way. That like, oh, well, we intended the message to be this. And like, well, that's not what you put on screen.
yeah, I mean, it happens to the best creators. Like people talk about Paradise Lost and how Milton meant it to be a Christian epic, and people go, "Yeah, the Satan was the main character, or he was the protagonist,"
Yeah. Yeah.
which I doubt that Milton intended that.
Yeah, I
But
don't think he did. Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of what the movie actually is, based on
Mm.
what we have looked into. Well, let's do some comparisons here because it's actually pretty damning.
Yeah.
Um, so box office for Wish, man, they should have gone. Yeah, they should have named it Timu instead. That's the better Chinese knockoff knockoff
Ooh.
brand.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Um, this thing, so it had a actually. Let's see. With this, oh my God, it actually hasn't had a combined like this 8 million here for the 22nd,
Yeah.
which was
It's not-
Wednesday. Uh, it oh my it has not had a day where it brought in more than $8 million.
Oh, wow.
Because like this 8,300,000 here,
Yeah.
that's counting Tuesday previews, and
Oh.
those aren't even midnight previews. I think it was available starting in the afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, Thanksgiving Day, which I believe Thanksgiving Day, uh,
It was the
23rd.
23rd. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of like, is that actually a good day for movies, or is Black Friday the bigger one generally?
Probably Black Friday might be the bigger day.
Yeah, like maybe it's like maybe night showings for Thursday,
Yeah.
but yeah, the interest is just died, or it was never there to start with.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it.
and yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, having been a somebody who kind of goes to Disney World rather frequently, I haven't seen any mention of this movie anywhere in any of the parks.
Really,
Yeah,
that's interesting because
yeah,
you'd think if you thought you had a blockbuster on your hand that you wouldn't necessarily make a Wish ride or something, but you'd have like merchandise and kids books and you
yeah,
know get them primed for this amazing movie.
yeah. I mean, I was there. What was it, like about 2 months ago, and I didn't see anything for it anywhere. So yeah,
Yeah, like now, and it's not like they didn't advertise it because I saw some trailers.
yeah.
Um,
Unless they started doing it like in the last month or so, I mean, when I haven't been there. But I mean, yeah,
right, but so so last year everyone said, oh, Strange World only flopped because as bad as it did because they pulled all the advertising from it to shove into Black Panther,
right, yeah,
which so far, to be fair, Wish in its first weekend has outdone Strange World's lifetime performance.
yeah. Guess that's something to say.
Yep. But again, Strange World was a weird looking movie. Like it kind of looked almost more like an Illumination film than anything else.
Yeah, and it didn't. It sounded like it didn't have a point.
Yeah, like
Uh,
okay, get Disney, get some writers. Like,
yeah,
I mean, they you know they wish had the right idea where they actually had a villain, but
yeah, yeah. This movie was but this one was just like what's the point of what they're doing? It's just yeah.
yeah. Meanwhile, I would say the most successful Disney animated movie of the last few years was Encanto,
Hmm.
which its total box office was under 250 million.
Ooh,
Yeah, Encanto. Well, okay, Encanto released in 2021, so that was still when theaters were largely locked down. Slightly before Spider-Man reminded people that they liked going to the movies occasionally.
yeah,
Its opening weekend, despite tickets being a bit cheaper back then, and despite its lockdown scenario, its opening weekend and Thanksgiving grosses both outdid Wish.
wow. Oh, jeez.
Like this is astounding.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if Encanto had come out with all the advantages that Wish had of no lockdowns, theaters being generally open,
Yeah.
uh, and there being more movies, which it's kind of funny where like last summer Top Gun stole all the movie money basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was actually kind of unhealthy because if there's only one movie that people actually want to see all summer,
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's a problem because it like nobody's just going to go to the theater to see what's there, like the
Right.
walk-up traffic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you're out, like, and Encanto actually ended up losing quite a bit of money at the box office. Now, it really picked up on Disney Plus, and
Yeah.
the album got big.
Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest Encanto fan after seeing it, um,
Mm.
but it had music that I actually remember,
Yeah.
which I've heard the villain song from Wish a couple of times. If you put a gun to my head and told me to hum it right now,
You
uh,
you be meeting you be at the pearly gates. Yeah.
yes. Explain to God why on a Sunday morning I was talking about box office rather than being in church.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that okay, so there's a few factors here.
Mm,
First off, I think Disney has, as a whole, managed to train the audience that it'll just be on Disney Plus next month.
mhm.
Why go see it in theaters?
Yeah. 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 Which they're gonna regret doing that.
Yes, because well, I mean, when we watched Guardians 3 for our reviews, like we talked about at the time,
Mm.
if if Guardians hadn't been coming to home video or home streaming in what 3 months after release, maybe, or
Yeah,
even later,
two and a half. Yeah.
like we would have probably gone out and bought a ticket to review it
Yeah.
because Guardians was one I kept meaning to see, but that safety net, knowing it was going to be on Disney Plus in the near term,
Yeah.
kind of took away some of the urgency.
Right. Yeah. And that movie probably would have done a lot better if that hadn't been the case.
Yeah. Um, but especially for kids movies, with ticket price inflation being what it is, it's got to be a special kids movie to make you decide to drop the amount of Okay, so it's like let's say you have a family of four.
Yeah.
Um, Average ticket price is something like 15, or like I think it's crept up to 14 from what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
Although that's averaging together IMAX tickets and other premium formats,
Right.
things like iPick, where it's like a restaurant theater and you pay a little bit more.
Yeah.
for the full service. But that also factors in matinees and other things too.
Yeah.
But let's okay. So let's say it's 14 for the adults, and we'll say 10 for the kids, just to make it easy.
Yeah.
So that's about $50 right there.
Mhm.
Before you have to buy a popcorn and uh, some
Sodas.
drinks and
Yeah.
maybe some candy,
Yeah.
or maybe since it's going to take a good chunk out of your afternoon or evening, you end up going to dinner before or after.
Hmm.
Like that can very quickly become $100 experience if you're being somewhat cost conscious.
Yeah. Yeah. If you do like, yeah, if you do like McDonald's before or after. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you say no, no, we'll just no, we're not going to get candy now. We'll get something on the way home.
Yeah.
Okay. Which family four through McDonald's, that yeah, like 75 if you're being economical and you have kids
Right.
eh,
Yeah.
with smaller things. It's If you compare that to, oh, I'm just going to say picking up Hogwarts Legacy on Black Friday,
Mm.
or yeah, buying a year's subscription to Netflix or something on the ad tier or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to be a special movie to make you want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't. Yeah. And Wish is obviously not that movie.
Yeah, no, the some of the reviews have just been kind of amazing. Like it's like you asked an AI to generate you a Disney movie.
Yeah. I wonder.
It's the Wish.com version of a Disney movie. Like
Yeah.
that name, it kind of just leans into it there.
Yeah.
I also think that the um, to say a certain word that I don't like to use too often, anti woke propaganda against Disney in general is having an effect.
Yeah, I think so. More of an effect than I would have thought. Because I do think, yeah, there are probably some families out there who are like, yeah, I don't like what Disney has been doing the last few years. I don't want to subject my kids or take my kids to see one of these movies that has something really weird in it that I don't want them to see or know about just yet.
Right, which
Yeah.
it sounds like this movie doesn't even really have that, but you've created the assumption that it could be there.
Right. Yeah. 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 They've lost the trust and faith of a lot of families, unfortunately.
And I want to say that just going to say this. I feel like Ron DeSantis was damaged by fighting Disney because people love Disney,
Hmm.
but I feel like Disney has also been damaged fighting Ron DeSantis in some people's eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Mutually assured destruction there.
Yep. um, the other thing is that, um, so I'm going to use an example here. There was a point in, I want to say, the 50s and 60s where people refused to buy cranberry-based products because there had been some sort of, I think there'd been a bad batch at some point that had gotten some people hurt.
Oh. Yeah.
And during the 1960 presidential campaign, they actually had Nixon and Kennedy appear together eating cranberry sauce or drinking cranberry juice, I forget what, in a commercial, just to try and convince people, no, we fixed the issue. It's been taken care of for a while. Please buy our stuff again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Right.
so I bring up this comparison because whether it's right or not, like I don't want to get into is Disney woke. I'm not interested in that conversation. But if there's the perception that it is, and there are people who don't like that,
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether the product actually has listeria in it or not. People got the idea in their heads that cranberries have listeria or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if it was actually listeria, but I should have looked this up before the show, but we'll just pick listeria as a stand-in for whatever problem the cranberry industry actually had.
It probably was Listeria. Yeah, I've heard other. I remember a few years back, Bluebell ice cream, which is based out of Brenham, Texas.
Hmm.
They had that problem, and they had to recall
Oof.
all their ice cream. Yeah,
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. That's
yeah,
unfortunate.
Yes.
But like if a certain percentage of your uh, it's also why companies work so hard to manage their images, because like Jack in the Box had a E. coli scare in the 90s, and I knew people 10 years later who still refused to go to Jack in the Box
Yeah.
because like, well, if it happened once, it could happen again.
Yeah.
So again, like
Yeah.
once you attach the idea Disney is woke propaganda, and you have presidential candidates saying that Disney is woke propaganda, right or wrong, there's going to be a percentage of the population who stays away from your stuff going forward.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, and I would say definitely with this movie and another movie that that of course another movie we'll be talking about here in a second. They're going to need to have some very serious discussions about what they're going to be doing with their movies going forward.
Yes, and I think we've beat up on Wish enough here.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm going to say is that from the music I heard and what I know of the plot, I don't think I'm even going to bother watching this on Disney Plus unless it's to review it.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah.
Like that, like if it was something on that looked like it was on par with Tangled or Frozen, I'd probably go get a ticket to and review it. But
Yeah.
it, and like I'm actually not afraid to say like I like musicals, and Disney basically is the ones who makes musicals anymore. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
well, uh,
Yeah.
uh, to compare it to its peer who came in at number four, Trolls Band Together.
Yeah.
Um, Trolls Band Together in its second weekend nearly matched Wish in its first weekend.
Wow. Yeesh. And I don't know. I've never seen a single Trolls movie, so I have no
Uh,
idea what they're about. No
My
idea
under,
what's going on there.
my understanding is it's basically an excuse. It's kind of like oh, what was that Illumination movie about the animals in the talent show?
Sing.
Sing. It kind of sounds like it's similar to Sing, where and I think you have Justin Timberlake as one of the main trolls.
Oh yeah, I heard somebody mentioning they do like an NSYNC reunion. Yeah.
Yeah, which is uh, like they're not great, but it's like there's two different DreamWorks. There's the DreamWorks that makes thoughtful uh, movies that an adult can appreciate, like Prince of Egypt, the last Puss in Boots movie.
Yes.
And then there's the DreamWorks that makes mindless kid schlock, like Trolls and Boss
Minions.
Baby. Well, Minions is Illumination.
Oh, the Minions. Okay.
But yeah, Boss Baby. Like Boss Baby was kind of a flop, but just judging by how Netflix keeps greenlighting TV shows based on it, and it Boss Baby is frequently in the top 10 on Netflix when I go looking. That
Yeah.
movie has had an insane second life on streaming.
Yeah. And then or Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, there's all Kung Fu Panda I'd put in
A thoughtful. Okay. Yeah.
the thoughtful one.
Yeah.
Maybe not the third one as much. That
Yeah.
one I didn't care for,
Yeah.
but anyway, but like it's a friggin' movie about those little dolls that they used to sell in the 90s.
Yeah.
This should not be in the same. This should not be doing better in its
Yeah.
opening weekend than the culmination of the company that invented the sound cartoon, that
Yeah.
invented the theatrical animation feature.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, then we're gonna do like I think this is kind of the last week we really need to beat up on this.
Hmm.
Boy, the
Oh boy.
Marvels
Yeah.
third weekend, $6 million.
Oh.
I was watching Alan Ing and Chris Gore talk about this morning. They were looking at their local theaters. Most of them gave the Marvels a single screen.
Ooh. Wow. That is yeesh. After 3 weeks. Ugh.
Right. like we talked earlier this year how it's kind of funny. There are some so movie profit is not as simple as it seems. Like, oh well, the movie cost 80 million, it made 82 million, you profited 2 million. No, you got advertising, and you've
Uh,
got the distributor's share and everything.
right. Yeah.
Um, so it's like, somebody who didn't know better could look at Ant-Man and go, "Oh, well, it cost 200 million to make. They made 463 million. Hey, that was a really successful movie."
Mm.
And you kind of have to explain to them, "No, no, no. You're like, here's how it actually works.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Marvels looks like it's going to underperform that dummy math even.
Ooh. Yeah.
274 million budget, 187 million worldwide so
What?
far.
Oh yeah. 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 I don't see it's making its reported budget back.
Yeah, even unadjusted for distribution and everything, it's just like
Yeah.
this thing at this rate is not going to kiss $100 million domestic. It's not going to kiss 300. Or it might not hit 250 worldwide.
Oh God. Wow. Yeah. This is a bomb of catastrophic proportions.
Yeah, say what you will about Morbin time here, Morbius.
Yeah.
It only cost 75 million to make.
Yeah.
Wait, who bought $12 million or $11 million worth of Morbius on Blu-ray and DVD?
Not worth it. Not worth it. Maybe if it was like $5, I would consider it.
Yeah, like Black Friday, and you
Yeah.
hadn't seen
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But dang.
Yeah.
By the way, I was at Black Friday, or Best Buy at Black Friday. Saw X is already on disc,
Wow. Yeesh.
but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so far, The Marvels has outperformed Morbius's lifetime box office, but it shouldn't be close for a mainline Marvels movie. Morbius was an
Yeah.
enormous bomb. It dropped 74% its opening weekend.
Yeah. The
The
Marvels dropped.
the Marvels dropped 74% it's from its actually no, wait, no. 78% weekend
78%.
over weekend.
Oh.
That means that more people went to go see the Marvels, and
Yeah.
nobody told anybody else to go see it with their or tell their friends to go see it.
Right. Or nobody wanted to go see it again. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like
Right.
that's the diehard fan base there, and
Mhm.
like we've talked quite a bit about why the Marvels bombed. So we've even had a whole like that one got more time dedicated to it than Wish did this time around.
Right. Yeah.
But it's just like it's just a silly movie that if this was a comic book, it would be the kind of throwaway issue of the year. It sounds
Yeah.
like okay, they used to have inventory stories where they'd have a Spider-Man one-shot story ready to go that kind of just didn't have to be fit into a particular continuity. And it's like, oh, John Romita Jr. has wrist sprain this month, and his doctor told him to not draw for a month. Quick, throw in this inventory story from we've had for 5 years,
Yeah.
where Spider-Man fights the Rhino. Like that's kind of the level of story that this sounds like.
Oh man.
But you don't spend 274 million filming a throwaway story, which is
Yeah.
basically what they did here.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Yeah. You wouldn't even spend 100 million on a something like that.
Yeah, I almost wonder if they would have been better off with like if you could go back in time and they said no, no, we need content for Disney Plus.
Mm,
uh, How much better off would they have been if somebody had just said, "Look, just we're going to make a bunch of animated movies set in the Marvel continuity
yeah.
or animated TV shows rather than this live action stuff." Like that would have been a way to make it clear to the audience, hey, you don't. This is not required viewing for the movies going forward.
Yeah, yeah. Have him almost be like the Star Wars animated movies before Dave Filoni decided to do the live action Ahsoka.
Yeah. Actually, it occurs to me this is now actually two movies that have been hurt by being sequels to WandaVision.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Oh, jeez.
And now I'm trying to think about like, okay, so let's say it hadn't been Brie Larson or let's say it hadn't been Captain Marvel as your movie character that was designed to bring these two together.
Mm, yeah.
How would this have done if it had been Spider-Man meets the Marvels?
I think probably they might have gotten another 100 million out of it.
Yeah, like I can't see this particular story generating that much interest anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's got Spidey Man in it, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which amusingly, Monica Rambeau did apparently get her debut in a Spider-Man annual, so that would have actually been appropriate.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
Mm,
Like if we compare it to the other um, the other movies, and it's like even this year where Marvel movies have not been doing well by and large.
yeah.
Like Guardians of the Galaxy, people had to be convinced to go see it because it had legs
Yeah.
because of a strong opening weekend. This is like if you told if I had made these predictions last month, oh, the Marvel won't hit 100 million.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Most people would have called me insane.
Yeah. And I might have been one of them.
Yes, or at least you would have thought it very loudly because you're a polite person.
Yeah.
Uh, just wow, like this.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to sound like I'm gloating necessarily because um, it's this is bad for everybody all around.
Hmm.
Like even though I've kind of checked out of caring about what's happening in the MCU, like this is hurting theaters, this is hurting actors and actresses, this is going to hurt future productions, which means a lot of caterers, carpenters, set designers, CGI artists
Yeah.
are going to lose out on work because there's suddenly a $200 million crater where the profits for this huge movie were supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And from what I've heard too, the new Captain America movie is going through extensive reshoots.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like they decided to turn it into a January 6th thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, yeah, that how do you how do you make a fun escapist movie? Bring up a dark day in American history that people have wildly divided opinions about.
Yeah.
That's how.
Yes. Oh man.
Yeah. Uh, After all that, this next movie, which is kind of Marvel's adjacent,
Yeah.
is almost kind of a step down in relevance. Taika Waititi's movie Next Goal Wins,
Mm, yes.
which is a well, now they just call it a Searchlight picture, but basically Fox Searchlight Pictures, which is their indie development brand.
Right. Yeah.
Um, it kind of sounds like a totally okay movie.
Hmm.
It's just like American Samoan soccer team. That's not like
Yeah.
it's a sports movie. Like there's
Yeah.
people who love sports movies. I like the occasional one.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Yeah.
it's got a little bit of the Taika Waititiism in it.
Mm, yes. Yeah. Which yeah. Not my cup of tea, but
Yeah. The Thor Love and it's one of those things where Thor Love and Thunder was a breath of fresh air because it was
yeah.
just so different. Like it was like people kind of forget like that was a dour time in the MCU. Like because Civil War ends up with Captain America and Iron Man breaking up the band,
Right. Yeah.
and Black Panther having to realize that revenge isn't great.
Yeah.
If I'm not, unless I'm misremembering my order of operations, but that was like I think it was surrounded by some more serious movies.
Oh. Oh. You mean Ragnarok?
Ragnarok. Excuse me,
Yeah,
Ragnarok.
yeah, yeah,
They're basically the same movie. So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Ragnarok is the one that felt like a breath of fresh air when it came out.
Yeah, except for the ending.
Yeah, and even the ending, like I accepted the ending at the time because it's like it was a charming movie all around. Though it's one
Yeah,
of those things in retrospect. Huh, we're not going to get like a actual Planet Hulk movie, are we now? Huh,
right. Yeah, mm,
yeah. But by dint of this only costing 10 million to make,
yeah,
there were some advertisements I saw for it. So
yeah,
for that for a movie that cheap, it's probably more. If like they put 20 million into advertising it, 60 million, and you're broken even.
yeah,
Uh, this type of thing. Oh well. Moving
yeah,
on. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
Sell it to Netflix or something.
yeah, yeah. They might break even one day.
Yep. As opposed to as opposed to a lot of the other movies we've been talking about today.
Yeah. uh,
It'll be very interesting to see how Wish holds or doesn't hold
mhm,
because let's say if it performs like Encanto, 50% drop next weekend, which is pretty good.
mhm,
Um, but that's going to be an $8 million next weekend, or $8 or $9 million next weekend.
yeah,
Actually, no, excuse me, $9 or $10 million. Did my division wrong?
yeah. uh,
Which is still not going to go anywhere close to getting it profitable.
No, no, no.
If it's like Strange Worlds, $58 million, 58% drop. Like
Mm,
it's like this is somewhere in between those because it's like, well, it's a Disney princess movie, so it gets a little bit of a bump from that, but
yeah.
it's also one that people don't seem to care about.
Right. Yeah.
Which that's kind of the damning thing is that like it doesn't even seem like people are getting overly outraged about this one. It's just like they're just sleeping on it.
Yeah, yeah. We've gone from anger and outrage to apathy, which is
Which
worse.
yes, people will go people will go hate watch something. They won't go apathy watch something.
Right. Yeah. 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 That's the worst. The worst thing is you can do is have somebody not care about it. Yeah.
Right. Right. The opposite of hate, love isn't hate, because hate you at least still have some interest in the other party.
Yeah.
The opposite is apathy, where you don't care if they live or die.
Right. Yeah.
But I would be very curious the conversations that are currently happening at Walt Disney about what to do about this. Because
Yeah.
is this where they sell the company? Is this,
Yeah.
or is this where they start spinning things off? Is this where they do you remember like 15 years ago where Cartoon Networks only got the idea in their heads that they should start making a bunch of live action shows?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Which is like, then why are you called Cartoon Network?
Yeah.
And nobody liked those shows and nobody watched them.
Yeah.
So they had to reverse course pretty quickly.
And then we got Rick and Morty.
Well, for Cartoon Network, that's where we got Adventure
Oh, Adventure
Time
Time.
and
Oh, yeah.
Steven
Yeah. Yeah.
Universe
Yeah.
and things like that, which were at least animation.
Yeah.
I wonder if like Disney decides to like, you know what, we're just not good at making cartoons right now. We're gonna like cut down our production of that and focus on live action.
Yeah. Well, that's what
Or
they did. Yeah. That's what they did in the 70s and 80s.
that's true. Very few of
Yeah.
the Disney animated classics from that time. Black
Yeah.
Cauldron, Oliver and Company.
Little Mermaid. Yeah.
Right. Little Mermaid is where they turned it around, like the start of the
Right.
Renaissance.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, most of them were live action. I mean, like Tron and Black
Yep.
Hole. Yeah.
Yep. A whole bunch of kind of 70s schlock, which,
Hmm.
family friendly stuff like, oh, stuff that my family loves, actually.
Yeah.
Things like, Apple Dumpling Gang and uh,
Yeah.
just a bunch of kind of cheap 70s live action Disney family movies.
Yeah. Was the Absent-Minded Professor? Was that 70s or was that like 60s?
I forget. Uh,
But
But yeah, like, we could see a return to that, which actually might be an improvement? Question mark.
Yeah, it's 60s, 1961.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some movie about a family who ends up owning a ski resort that we watched last Christmas that from my parents' childhood that I just cannot think of the name of now.
Yeah.
It was totally serviceable, is the
Yeah.
best way to describe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh well. All right. We've been at this an hour, but
Yeah.
so the TLDR, which uh, we could turn this into a short or something if we wanted, or
Yeah.
not. Up to you, Daniel.
Okay.
Since you're our editing staff
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
chronically underpaid, I swear that check will show up at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hunger Games showing signs of good word of mouth and legs.
Mhm.
Napoleon outperformed what people expected, especially doing well internationally. Where hey, uh, what do you want to bet that? Yeah, France is number 2 behind the UK. So
Yeah.
actually, kind of surprised the UK is higher, but it's English language.
Yeah.
Wish. Can't believe that. I can't believe that Wish is just vanishing like this.
Yeah.
It had every reason to do well. The
Yeah.
Marvels put a fork in it. It's done.
Yes. It's done. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that I think that's going to be the last really interesting box office outcome for the year, besides seeing how Wish does the second weekend.
Hmm.
And I guess we've still got Aquaman 2 to kick around, but that's
Oh
going to
yeah.
I keep forgetting that exists.
Yeah. I actually saw an ad for that the other day. Yeah.
Doesn't look great.
No, it doesn't. It looks bad. All
But
right.
oh
Well.
well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've said our piece and talk, exhausted this topic.
Yep.
Uh, yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us for this special exhaustive box office dive slash third hand review. On Thursday, we're going to have Edwin Acevedo on again to talk about his new comic.
Yes. Yeah.
We're also going to be reviewing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. So
Yes. Yeah. You do not want to miss that show on Thursday. Yeah. It's going to be a good one.
we're going to have opinions.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. As DB said, thank you all for tuning in and watching us. Hit the
Mhm.
like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell and leave a comment down below.
Yes, all the algorithm friendly things.
Yes, and we will see you on Thursday.
Yep. Later, guys.